Good morning, students of class 7. Today we will be doing the second part of the Mughal Empire, and we have already discussed in the previous class about Babur, his achievements, okay, and then about Akbar, about his religious policy, how tolerant he was, okay. Then we have read about Sher Shah Suri, okay, he's what he has done for the improvement of the during his rule, what were the improvements he has done, okay. And now we will be doing in details about Jahangir, okay. Now before telling about Jahangir, we will see that Akbar had a very broad mindedness, okay. He made all the religions equal. He has seen all the religions equally, okay. Even he has removed the jizya tax which was imposed on the non-Muslims by the other Mughal emperors. But Akbar has just stopped this tax on the that was imposed on the non-Muslims, and even he knew that in order to reign in India, he has to give importance to the Rajputs, okay, because the Rajputs were the very brave warriors, and so he gave positions to the Rajput in his office, in his court, okay, high rank and high positions he has given. So all the Rajputs, the Sheikhs, they were very much impressed with Akbar's behavior. Even he has married Hindu princes. So you can see from here that he had a very broad-mindedness, okay, and he was very tolerant. He looked all the religion equally, but this thing was lacking in other emperors, okay. So so that is why they couldn't rule for long, okay. And his next generation, his next was Jahangir. We will read about Jahangir in details, okay. So let us see it in details. Now see here, Jahangir, he was known as Prince Salim. He was the eldest son of Akbar, and he ascended the throne of Delhi, and he was the fourth Mughal ruler. He assumed the name Jahangir, okay. So his actual name was Salim. So his first task was to control his rebellious son Khusro. So Khusro was rebelling against him. So his first task was to control his rebellious son. Now Arjan Dev, he was the fifth Sikh Guru. He helped Khusro in his rebellion. So what happened? Jahangir was very much enraged, and he executed the Sikh Guru, okay. So that is why what happened, there was a bitter struggle between the Sikhs and the Mughals. So you see, the peace, the good relation which Akbar made previously with the Sikhs, with the Rajputs, was now again breaking, okay. And Jahangir, he couldn't able to, he didn't make good relations with Sikhs and Rajputs, and he has executed the fifth Sikh Guru, and all the Sikhs were very much annoyed with Jahangir, okay, with the Mughals. Next, foreign influence and interactions. Now in Jahangir's time, the foreigners, that is the British, the first entry of the British, the Portuguese, the British, the Dutch came, okay, during this Jahangir's reign. So advancement of Europeans came, like Portuguese, the British and the Dutch, they came to India. Now Portuguese started attacking Mughal ships. And why? Because there was a clash between on the matters of economic interest, okay. So Portuguese, what happened, they attacked the Mughal ships of in the trading purpose, okay. And there was a clash between the Mughals and the Portuguese, and so Jahangir supported their rivals, the British and the Dutch. So what happened, the Portuguese's rival was British and Dutch, and Jahangir supported the two rivals to get rid of Portuguese, okay. Now In 1608, Captain William Hawkins arrived at Surat with a letter from King James I of Great Britain. Okay, and what is there? It was to the emperor requesting permission to trade. So, because the British, they have helped Jahangir to get rid of Portuguese, so the British were very much diplomat. Okay, so they knew that this was the time to come and do trade with India, because India at that time was very much rich with raw materials. So British, they were very diplomat, so they found that this was the time that as they helped the Indians, so in return they also got the scope to come in India, okay, to trade with India, and then they have also ruled in India for many years. So here this was the first entry. So they got the entrance from Jahangir, permission to enter from Jahangir. Okay, they got the Captain William Hawkins. He arrived at Surat with a letter from King James I of Great Britain to the emperor requesting permission to trade. Okay, then he earned very good will and stayed at the court for 3 years as Mansabdar. So now here you see the British, they were very much diplomat. I told you. Achha, here it is Mansabdar. Okay, Mansabdar. Now here British, as I told you, they were very much diplomat, and also they were very much good in behavior also. They knew the courtesies very well, they knew the manners very well. So with their manners, with their courtesies, they have just made the emperor pleased. They have just pleased the emperor, and the emperor became very much happy with their behavior, and the emperor gave them earned a goodwill and allowed them to stay in his court for 3 years as Mansabdar. Okay, now next what happened? In 1614 CE, Sir Thomas Roe, the British ambassador, he was sent to Jahangir. Okay, then again in 1614, Sir Thomas Roe, who was considered as the British ambassador, he was sent to Jahangir, and he received liberal trade concessions for British. Okay, and allowed to set up factory at Surat. In the same way, Sir Thomas Roe, who was the British ambassador, he also went to Jahangir to get the permission for the trade concessions for so there was a liberal trade concession for British. They were allowed to set up factory at Surat. So here British came and made factory. Okay, so Sir Thomas Roe lay foundation for British East India Company's trade, and so in Jahangir's time the British first got entry to do their trade. Okay, next comes Nur Jahan. Nur Jahan was the queen of Jahangir. Okay, Jahangir married her, and she was the chief queen. And Nur Jahan, which means light of the world. Okay, it was the actual name of Nur Jahan was Mehrunisa, and she acquired tremendous power and influence over the king. Okay, so the king was very much pleased with Nur Jahan. Okay, for her beauty, for her talent, and the king listened to Nur Jahan even in the matters of administrative purpose also. The king respected the decisions of Nur Jahan, and authority in all matters. So Nur Jahan had authority in all matters of administration, and also appointed her relatives and favorites to high positions, even had royal farman. Okay, so now Nur Jahan, she also appointed relatives who were her relatives to the high positions. Okay, and had the royal farman, that is the royal order, and coins issued in her name. Okay, so you can see how much powerful her wife was. His wife was. Next comes the issue of coins. So issued silver coins and gold coins. Okay, so Jahangir issued silver coins and gold coins both, some having images of him, some of his wife Nur Jahan. So some having the images of Jahangir and some having the image of Nur Jahan. Now, last days of Jahangir was that Jahangir wrote autobiography called Tuzuki Jahangiri in 1622. His health declined, and then Shah Jahan became the next ruler. Okay, so his health declined and he died, and next Shah Jahan became the next ruler. Okay, and you remember this autobiography, that is Tuzuki Jahangiri. Achha, next, Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan is known as Prince Khurram, ascended the throne. He took the title Shahabuddin Muhammad Shah Jahan. So, and he married Mumtaz Mahal, who was Nur Jahan's niece. Okay, in relation. So, Shah Jahan's campaigns, what were his campaigns? He led a successful military campaigns against Mewar, Kangra and the Deccan kingdom. So, these were the area he made campaigns, and he sent his son Aurangzeb to subdue the ruler of Bundelkhand at Orcha. Okay, and then he went to Bengal. There he put down the growing powers of Portuguese and carried illegal trading activities. So at that time Portuguese carried illegal trading activities. So he controlled the Portuguese, okay, and believed to be forcibly converting people to Christianity. So Portuguese, they were just doing illegal trading activities. Even they forced the people to convert their religion to Christian. So Shah Jahan, just with his bravery, he showed his bravery, and he put down the strength of the power of Portuguese. Okay, and moreover 10,000 Portuguese were killed. They were imprisoned, and after that what happened? Another event happened. Outbreak of famine and plague was there in the Deccan, Gujarat and Khandesh. So Shah Jahan also took active measure over there. He made extensive arrangement to reduce the sufferings of the people. Next, we are coming about his architecture. We know that he has a great love towards art and architecture. The proof was the Taj Mahal. Okay, he was a master builder. Mumtaz Mahal died in 1631 CE. He built Taj Mahal to house the tomb of his beloved wife. Okay, that is Taj Mahal he built, which was considered as one of the wonders of the world. Okay, so in the memory of Mumtaz Mahal, he made the beautiful Taj Mahal, and it was very beautifully made with great art and architecture. Okay, next we will be coming of the administration of Shah Jahan. Now he restored Mansabdari system started by Akbar. Then he managed to cut the rates of pay of the Mansabdars. So these were his rules of his administration. He restored the Mansabdari system that was made by Akbar, and then he managed to cut the rates of pay of the Mansabdars and insisted on a definite number of troops from them. So he told them that the Mansabdars should give a definite number of troops. Okay, and he managed to cut some of the payment of Mansabdar. And European visitors who came during his time were French travelers like Bernier and Tavernier, Italian traveler Nicolas Munici. Then English visitors, they also visited the court of Shah Jahan, and they gave a vivid description about his rule. So these were the names, just remember it, that is Bernier and Tavernier, and Italian traveler Nicolas Munici. Okay, so end of Shah Jahan's rule. Now we are coming to the end of Shah Jahan's rule. In 1657 Shah Jahan fell seriously ill. His 4 sons were Dara, Shikoh, Suja, Murad, and Aurangzeb. And but there was a fight between the brothers, and Aurangzeb battled for the right to succeed their father. Okay, so actually Dara was the lawfully Dara should be the king after Shah Jahan's death, because Dara was the eldest son. But Aurangzeb, he was a very shrewd ruler, and he fought the battle and took the right to become the ruler, okay, after Shah Jahan. So Aurangzeb emerged the winner, and Agra fort with all its treasures surrendered to Aurangzeb. And in Agra fort, with all treasures were surrendered to Aurangzeb, because Aurangzeb was the winner, and forcefully he became the ruler. He even tortured his father. He made his father prisoner for life. Okay, so you can understand here, realize that how harsh and shrewd Aurangzeb was in his decisions. Okay, even he didn't spare his father also. Okay, and whatever his father got, that Agra fort and all, that he took it forcefully. Okay, and Shah Jahan died at the age of 74 in 1666 CE. So Shah Jahan, he was a lover of art and architecture, but his last days were very pathetic. In the exile he was imprisoned. Okay, and there only he faced his death. And so lover of nature, so lover of art, has to lead lives in the prison, and that is for his son Aurangzeb. So this was the pathetic end of Shah Jahan. Okay, next we will go to Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb, he was born in 1618 CE. He was the third son of Shah Jahan and Mumtaz Mahal. Okay, he was the empire of he became the emperor, and he made the empire, the Aurangzeb made the empire biggest. Okay, not by making good relation, but with war with one another. He made war with the rulers. Okay, and spent first half of his 50 years reign in the northern territory, and the second half he was trying to annex the Deccan. So his policy was only to make war. Okay, he didn't follow Akbar's policy. And next coming religious policy, he wanted to strengthen Islam in the empire, discontinued the policy of religious tolerance. So he didn't like Akbar's religious tolerance, so he stopped there all the religious tolerance. He again imposed jizya tax on the non-Muslims, and he made policies which led uprisings in Delhi, Gujarat, Burhanpur. Okay, then the Marathas, Jats, Satnamis and Rajputs, they also rose in protest. Now, he didn't, the peaceful relation which Akbar made previously, this was totally damaged, destroyed by Aurangzeb. And now everyone was annoyed with Aurangzeb, as he made bad relations with everybody by making war. Next coming Rajput policy of Aurangzeb. Unlike Akbar, he tried to annex Rajput kingdoms and waged several battles against him. You can see that he was not a man with making good relations. He didn't treat the Hindus he didn't give any honor to the Hindus, and he waged several battles against them. Okay, then Aurangzeb lost royalty and support of the Rajputs. Okay, so all the Rajputs were very much annoyed with Aurangzeb, and they did not support Aurangzeb. Now we are coming to the Deccan policy. Aurangzeb's Deccan. Aurangzeb spent 26 years of his life and reign in the Deccan. So that brought him into direct confrontation with Marathas. So as he spent 26 years in Deccan, so he wanted to control Deccan, and as he wanted to control Deccan, he had direct confrontation with the Marathas. First under Shaji and later under his son Shivaji. So Shivaji, he was a very much clever and brave Maratha ruler, and the Marathas grew in number and strength and won the kingdom of Bijapur in 1681 CE and Golconda. Okay, then in 1687 CE suffered heavy loss of soldiers and money. So he suffered in 1687 great. Okay, then what happened is the conflicts, there were also conflicts elsewhere, rebellious and war in Assam. So he made rebellious war in various areas in Assam, in Coach Bihar in the northeast, the Afghans between Punjab and Kabul, then the Jats, the Satnamis and the Bundal against Aurangzeb. Then all these were very much areas of the Rajputs were very much annoyed against Aurangzeb. So they made rebellions, okay, against Aurangzeb and decided to make war. Okay, and these are the areas which were very much annoyed with Aurangzeb's policy. Then finally, execution of the 9th Sikh Guru, Guru Tegh Bahadur, it led to the climax, and the Sikhs took up arms. Sikhs were very peace loving. They took the arms, and under 10th Guru, that is Guru Gobind Singh, Sikhs fought bitterly against Aurangzeb. So here, that is the end of the the most powerful among the Mughal ruler. Last was Aurangzeb powerful. After that, the Mughal rulers were not so much powerful, and this led to the decline of the Mughal emperor. Okay, and slowly the British was gaining the ground. Okay, gaining ground. So read the chapter very nicely. Read the chapter very nicely and see whether you have any problems or not. And then we will be meeting in the next class. Okay, the next online class. Thank you.